Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new series that I am calling Hey Datto, what do you think of the Gambit changes? Where we talk about Gambit changes. It's going to be a very short series, probably only a one of one, but I'm very excited to bring it to the channel. Let's get right into this. Okay, so final TWAB before Witch Queen. I don't have a lot of time today again, so we're doing this again, but some people seem to like this kind of format where I just kind of ramble about what's going on here incoherently. So let's take a look at some Gambit changes. Gambit is it's in the game. It literally is in the game. It needs a lot of help. I recently got my little year in review email from Bungie that's like, oh, what do you use for exotics? Like, what has the most kills and what things did you do the most? And, you know, they give you activity breakdowns by percentages. I think my strikes was like 33% and raid was like 25. My Gambit was 1%. 1%. And I saw a lot of other people floating in the 1 to 3% range for Gambit. I don't know many people who choose to play Gambit willingly. Most of the time, it's because they're trying to get some bounties done or they're trying to get a thing done that they can only do in Gambit. So it needs some help. And Bungie is basically tuning every part of the mode. Every single part, the core activity, the ammo economy, the primeval tuning, so the boss fight, the invasions, and the rewards. Like, nothing is safe, which is good because I don't think anything should be safe in this, because when you have something that is so not interacted with and just like it doesn't really get a lot of praise, nothing should be sacred here, and it doesn't seem like it is. I mean, the core concept of like dunking moats and invasion and all that, you know, they're not fundamentally changing the mode, but all the different aspects of the mode are getting tweaks. So here's what Bungie believes is important for Gambit. You can showcase your skill at fighting, and your arsenal also kind of matters. It should be as fun to shoot things in Gambit and kill things in Gambit as it is everywhere else. And I don't think this is much of an issue right now. There's a lot of builds that do really, really well in Gambit. Any sort of PvE destruction-based build is really going to be solid. And there's a lot of builds that I think shine brightest in Gambit. So I don't feel like this has ever really been a super big problem, but it's an important thing to note. A good invader should be able to turn the tide of a match, but a good invader should be no more important than any other team member. A good invader does not mean you need to have a PvP god loaded up with all the best stuff. And this is definitely a point of contention where it feels like the invasion, specifically the first invasion of a match, is basically what ends up deciding how a game is going to go, right? The very first invasion. And there's another point here. There's two more points against invaders. It should be rare that a match is out of your hands as a player and then outcome is preordained early in the match. That should be rare. And players defending against invaders should have ample tools to fight them without worrying about using ammo to deal with tougher enemies. That kind of goes into the heavy ammo stuff that we'll talk about. And players should have methods for recovering from a devastating invade. So a big problem right now with Gambit is hitting a very specific timing in order to be the first invader while you dunk a whole bunch of moats, but you don't want to be the first to 25, or like you don't want to be the first to dunk in moats because you want to like dunk all 25 and then invade immediately so they have a bunch of blockers, and then while they're dealing with the blockers you kill them. And that's a good strategy, but if that ends up happening to you, it is incredibly difficult to recover, because by the time the invader goes away, the opposing team has already, started collecting way more moats again. They'll get it to 50 moats, and then the invasion portal opens back up again, and it just snowballs out of control. And with how easy it is to kill the primeval right now, that first invasion can essentially dictate how the rest of the match goes. If you kill the invader as they come in right away, then you have a much better chance. But if you don't, it's basically game over, right? They rip off some heavy ammo off the wall. They grab Eyes of Tomorrow. Boom, boom, boom. Everybody's dead, and the game's basically over. And that's part of, I would say, probably the main reason why I choose not to deal really with Gambit. It feels like matches are decided literally within the first couple of minutes. Working together with your team to overcome tough enemies, the primeval, high-value target, or an invader should feel as gratifying as a hard nightfall. Yeah, the primeval right now is pretty much a meme. You kill 1 or 2 waves of the envoys, and primeval dies basically instantaneously. It's very, very easy to kill it. There's not really much suspense at all. So yeah. Bungie says, while we don't always hit those marks, Gambit has a healthy and stable population. I mean, I don't have the numbers, but does it? We want to make Gambit more wide appeal. Okay, blah, blah, blah. All right, so core activity changes. All right, you can see right here, freelance Gambit. The fear of going into the Gambit playlist by yourself should be dramatically lessened by seeing this image right here. And I'm getting a similar feeling that I got when I first saw Trials Freelance enter the lexicon. And Trials Freelance is probably the only time that I would ever enjoy Trials as a solo player. There's very little that Bungie, I think, could do other than just the craziest team balancing ever that would ever make me feel like my time wasn't being completely wasted doing something like solo Trials in a non-freelance playlist. Now, is freelance the best idea or the best option to fix a problem like this? No, it's not. Like, Bungie has said many, many times that, yeah, they even say it right here, investigating ways to remove the need for freelance nodes that split the population. Hope we have something later for you this year. And they've said the same thing with Trials as well. It's like they don't want the answer to be freelance playlists. They don't want to fracture the population, right? Because if you're a solo player, there's never a reason to go into the regular Gambit playlist. And if you're a team, I mean, obviously you can't, but teams fighting other teams, not, most people just, if you're in a team as Gambit, you probably just want to try to steamroll people. So this is encouraging just right off the rip, because it never feels good as a solo to go up against a 4-stack. It never has. Is it impossible to win? No. Is it very unlikely that you will win? Yes. And that never feels good, like already feeling like you're going to lose just by looking at the roster of people who you're going to be playing against, right? Because it just feels like the next 7 to 10 minutes are going to be a complete waste of time. So yeah, freelance is encouraging. I understand it's not the answer, but it's some level of encouraging to see something like Freelance Gambit, just to maybe see how the game plays with all of these new changes, because there's a lot. Everything's changed. Rotating seasonal selection of curated encounters starting in Season 16. So due to production issues, they were only able to bring one of the 3 variations in Gambit. Strangely enough, this was never really a big factor into why I wasn't engaging with Gambit. My main issue with Gambit wasn't like, oh my god, we always get Hive on this map, or we always get Scorn on the... Do you even get Scorn? We always get Scorn on this map, or we always get Fallen on this map. I couldn't care less about what enemies I was playing against at all. This was never a big problem. But I feel like it will be something that people potentially appreciate a little bit more now that we have a little bit of variance in the playlist. But this was never something I really cared about, because I look at all enemy races the same. I'm going to murder all of them in the face very quickly to get all of the moats. Respawn points added to all fronts, and a front is a section of the map where enemies could cycle in or out. So yeah, it's pretty annoying to spawn as an invader in the same spot in the same map a lot of times in a row. So they're trying to fix that. They're basically trying to change up some of the spawn locations for invaders and people respawning as well, because I don't know how other people feel about this, probably the same, but dying and having to start all the way back at the spawn point was like a 20-second interaction where you can finally get back to the action is terrible. It feels awful, right? Not only are you dying to an invader, probably to some BS, Eyes of Tomorrow crap, but then you have to wait there for 10 seconds for someone to get close enough to you to res you, but then you auto spawn, which by the way is also being addressed. You auto spawn back at the spawn, and now you got to run another 15, 20 seconds just to get back to the action. It is horrendous. It is awful. It's awful. So very glad to see that being adjusted to some degree. It's not like you're going to be, spawning right next to the enemies as you respawn, but being a little bit closer to the action and being able to get right back in a little bit faster is very encouraging. Players always drop half the moats that they were carrying when they were defeated. These can be picked up by anyone, including invaders. Invaders can also drop more moats now. This makes recovering from a ruthless invader or bad luck fighting enemies a little easier. Very interested by this change. So if you have a 15 stack of moats, invader comes in, pops somebody, but you're right next to them, you can scoop up some of those moats. You'll get, I don't know if it's rounded up or down, so you get 7 or 8 moats from that 15. Now, obviously, if you're full, then this is completely useless. But it makes it so traveling together is a little more valuable as opposed to just kind of trying to spread out to take down an invader. But also, again, if it never feels good to have your entire team wiped out and 43 moats just go down the drain instantaneously. So being able to have a little bit of a recovery, or even as an invader being I could go scoop those moats and give my team a boost if I make it back. Kind of, maybe changes up the invader mindset, the invader invadee interaction a little bit more. So interested to see how that goes, because it really seems like they're trying to reduce the power and reduce just the brutal nature of an invasion gone horribly wrong on, I guess, the side that's being invaded. Players can be revived by other players 2 seconds earlier, and auto respawn is delayed by 2 seconds. I cannot tell you how many times someone has started to revive me, or I've started to revive somebody else, only for them to automatically respawn at the spawn point. It is the most infuriating thing to not only they have to wait the full 10 seconds, but you probably spend about 10 seconds getting over to that person. You start to respawn them, but then it fails. They respawn all the way back at the beginning, and now you have to run back all the way over there. Most of the time, unless you were basically in the same front or the same, kind of zone as the person who died, it was pointless to go res somebody because most of the time they were just going to auto respawn anyway. So being able to have a couple of extra seconds, preferably the auto spawn is just not even a thing as you're resing somebody. I don't know how that interaction really works. But being able to reliably res people a little bit more is going to be, number one, it's going to make resing people worth it. But number two, it's just not going to feel as bad to have that happen. All shields have increasing resistance to non-matching damage types. While it's not as severe as match game resistance and Nightfalls, we want a way to promote build crafting and teamwork. I feel like the odds are that everyone on the team is going to have different enough weapons that taking down shields is not really a huge problem. But this is a neutral change. I don't think it's super amazing awesome, but I don't think it affects the game mode as much as maybe it's reading out right now. Rules of Gambit added to the launch screen, and numerous Gambit-specific hints have been added to the load screen. Basically, Bungie's way of being hey, here's how you play this mode. So maybe you can stop being a detriment. I don't know. All right, blockers, draining, and the bank. Yeah, so as we discussed earlier, setting up your invade so that it times exactly correct with the moats being dropped in with your team is a pretty big part of the Gambit experience. But also, some of the blockers, the 5 moat goblin feels basically worthless as a blocker. Even the 10 moat, the phalanx, is so weak. But I think our vision of how strong these enemies actually are have been skewed by stuff like Breach and Clear and Particle Deconstruction, because you're just getting a straight up 40% damage boost against these enemies. So I do really want to see what it's like not having these boosts to our damage, and see how that kind of changes things in Gambit and honestly in the rest of the game, right? Because I think people's mindsets have been skewed by, almost a full year of certain archetypes of weapons just doing ridiculous amounts of damage more than other archetypes. So 10 Moat Phalanx blocker has health boosted a bit. I think that's totally fine. This target was very, very weak. It was a complete non-threat. At least when you actually decide to engage with it. Its shield, trying to defeat it from afar was pretty annoying, and I think that's the point. 15 Moat Knight blocker gains a stasis attack. We originally planned to pull its health down as we felt it was a little too beefy for 15 moats, but with the ammo changes below, we didn't find the current health
onerous.
Look, guys, I make YouTube videos on Destiny for a living, all right? 15 Moat blocker, the Knight. If you only had primary ammo, this thing was a nightmare to kill. If you had some special ammo, it wasn't that bad, but if you only had primary, the Knight is awful. It's awful to try to kill by yourself. So I don't mind that they didn't really tweak its health that much. Stasis attacks in PvE from, PvE combatants, I've never really felt like are that much of a threat. Gambit's already a mode that you're pretty mobile in, like you want to prioritize moving around a whole lot. So I guess it depends on what the stasis attack ends up being. If it's anything like the Hobgoblin champion, launchers that just launch a little pool of slow at you and do nothing else. I don't really feel like that's going to do a whole lot, but if it's something like, throwing a cold snap grenade or maybe a big dust field or something like that, then maybe, it's a little more intense. But stasis, I don't really feel like has been that threatening of a thing, PvE wise. Moat drain from multiple blockers continues even if the opposing team is in the primeval phase. Yeah, this is a very, very interesting change. I don't want to say good or bad, because we don't know how it's going to play out just yet, but I'm very, very interested by this change, right? If you're behind and the enemy team is just trying to annihilate the primeval as fast as possible, they can ignore all those blockers, right? Whereas the person who got to the primeval first, the opposing team has to deal with those blockers no matter what, whereas the team that's ahead never had to deal with them. So you can continue to ignore them, right? If you just want to, keep trying to burn the boss, you can do that. But the enemy team who is behind is going to have a chance to catch up because they're still going to be sucking moats away from you. Not, you can't, once you hit 100, you're not going to go below 100, but you're still going to have, moats sucked from you and given to the enemy team, and the enemy team is going to be able to catch up a little bit faster. And I find that very, very interesting. I find that super, super interesting. It gives at least the team that's behind a little bit of a chance, but you can control, them getting extra moats. If you don't want them to get extra moats, you got to kill the blockers. That's super interesting. This is also very interesting. Moat drain is paused if a player is near the bank and engaging blockers. So you can't just be sitting near the bank. You actually have to be actively fighting blockers. This is the only point that needs to be made. It never feels great to have your moats draining away while you pour primary ammo into 3 taken knights. Yeah, it's a terrible feeling. It's an absolutely terrible feeling knowing that you're trying to stop the issue, but you don't have any special ammo, you don't have any power ammo, and you're just plonking away at 3 knights or something like that, and your team's not helping you. So at least you can kind of stop the bleeding, literally stop the bleeding by at least engaging with the targets, right? I'm very interested to see how this changes the dynamic. And also I feel like this also can, reduce some of the, reduce some of the pressure from being invaded after a bunch of blockers come up. If you're on a Titan, you can drop a shield and try to put yourself in between, or the invader and the shield while also trying to deal with blockers. So that way the invader has to kind of play around you trying to kill blockers. So that moat suckage is not as brutal as it is. Cause if you dunk 45 moats in and you get 3 knights and then you invade immediately, most people are not going to choose to engage with the knights at the bank, right? They're going to try to find you or run away from you depending on the situation. So rewarding engaging blockers, not only just while there's no invader, but while there's an invader, I think is very interesting. These 2 changes are very, very interesting. Very interesting. Ammo economy. Ammo economy is so tough in Gambit because it can feel like, oh, you got power ammo and we didn't. Well, we lose, right? End of game, end of story. It's just done. And usually the people who get power ammo the most, or get just any sort of ammo the most, are the winners, right? That's just kind of what happens, or what feels like happens. And it never feels good being invaded by someone who just fires rocket after rocket after rocket after shot after shot after shot of ammo, and you just, like, what can you do? Like, you have no power ammo to counter. It feels terrible. So, consistency is the thing. I don't mind if both teams get no power ammo. I don't mind if both teams get power ammo, but the imbalance needs to be adjusted, right? You can't have one team getting super lucky RNG, filling up their entire machine gun reserves, or getting, 4 rockets to go invade. You can't have that. So when completing a front, a chest containing a small amount of special and heavy ammo spawns in the middle of the front and can be looted once by each player. It goes away after 20 seconds. Killing a high-value target spawns 1 normal heavy brick for each player. During the primeval phase, ammo chests spawn in one of the fronts every 60 seconds. This replaces the regular front ammo chest, but you still need to find the time to go grab it. Limited special and heavy ammo bricks to only spawn from enemies if you have finder mods equipped. Other ammo exotics and perks like Aeon Cult still work. So they're looking to control the flow of ammo here, right? So you can still find stuff with finder mods, but finder mods, generally speaking, don't give you a ton of ammo per brick, right? From a power brick, you'll get like 1 rocket, for example. Special ammo, you might get 2 or 3 fusion shots, right? So being able to make it so each team has the same opportunities to get approximately the same amount of ammo from each specific area can hopefully tone down some of these issues where one team gets a bunch of ammo and another team doesn't. So at least it can feel like you're on an equal playing field, right? An invader comes in, they have 4 rockets. You haven't even gotten a brick of special to drop, and you're just at the mercy of them firing rockets. Now, a little more even, a little more consistent. That's what I was looking for. Consistency, make it balanced so that teams have the same amount of ammo in any sort of way, and controlling it like this, where it's like you kill a bunch of enemies in a front, here's some ammo, go to the next one. I'm into it. I'm into it. And again, it also seems like Bungie's still also trying to push the whole primary thing, right? Limited special and heavy only come from these chests, right? We don't know. It says a small amount of special and heavy. We don't know how much of that actually is going to be. It's a big difference between, 1 rocket and maybe 2 or 3 rockets. So it really depends on how much here. But it even still, even in Gambit, it feels like Bungie is trying to push we want primary weapons to matter a whole lot more kind of narrative. Primeval fight. So right now, Primeval fight's a joke, right? It's pretty much a joke. It's basically a non-factor, and it feels like the Moat phase and the Primeval phase are swapping in terms of duration. Like the Primeval phase, they want it to feel much longer, and they want the Moat phase to feel shorter. So let's see what they're doing here. The Primeval fight is the ultimate challenge. Feel like an epic boss fight, long enough for the team to get off some invades to counter strong DPS. It should have more to do than simply burning the boss as quickly as possible. Its mechanics shouldn't be complex, but it requires as much tactical play as a high-end strike boss. Okay. Primeval health and Slayer stack bonus retuned. Burning the boss after 3 rounds of envoys should be, as easy as it is right now, but doing it earlier should be a little bit tougher. So that means we're going to have longer Primeval fights, which I don't think is a bad thing. It should feel more epic than it is right now. It's just like, a couple of thunder crashes, and it dies, right? And there's no chance for counterplay. Envoys now spawn with friends out in the fronts rather than in the bank area. They have reduced health, no longer affected by Slayer stacks, and have varied elemental shields. Killing the envoys to get Slayer stacks will require movement, dealing with the envoys' protectors, and dealing with their elemental shield. Now, there are definitely plenty of instances where there are enemies spawning outside of the bank area when the when that phase starts, when the primeval phase starts. And I do notice that a lot of people tend to just completely ignore these ads. Like taken vandals with snipers tend to be one of the most annoying on the EDZ map, which Emerald Coast, is that it? Let me know in the comments. Is it Emerald? I'm feel dumb if it's not Emerald Coast. It feels like it's Emerald Coast. Those ads are super annoying. Sorry. Those ads are super annoying, and not a lot of people kill them. And I always try to make sure I put in an effort to kill them because they're much more annoying than I feel like people really realize. So yeah, that's good. We're now fighting on multiple fronts. So you kind of have to balance your attention between dealing with the primeval, dealing with the envoys, and then dealing with the ads that are going to be shooting you from far away. Envoys put an invulnerability shield on the primeval. You got to kill both to start damaging the primeval. Okay. Forcing your team to go out and invade. I assume they mean invade the fronts and not like the other team. That'd be pretty interesting, right? If you had to go invade the enemy team, but then there was PvE that you had to do while you were invading. So now like you become the hunted one. That'd be weird. Envoys respawn at 30% of the primeval damage done. This increases by 10% for every envoy respawn. They stop spawning after the 5th wave. The primeval servitor boss is gone because its custom shielding mechanics conflicted with the new mechanics. You know, the whole, this thing right here, the invulnerability. So that is gone. Malfeasance is, they'll fix it. So the moat phase is going to be a lot quicker and the primeval phase is going to be a lot longer. So it's going to be much more about the boss fight and dealing with that than it is about what can feel like a very arduous moat experience, especially with, invasions. And speaking of which, let's talk about invasions. A good invader should be able to turn the tide of a match, but a good invader should be no more important than anybody else. We don't want a single good invader to completely dominate the match outcome, and they certainly can right now. Can is more like they do right now, but we still want a good invader to be able to delay a strong PvE team from finishing off the primeval. Level advantage is now disabled for the invader PvP. It's actually been like this since Beyond Light, okay. One of the moat phase invasions has been removed. They now trigger at 40 and 80 moat thresholds. Primeval phase invasions are unchanged. And also, invasions can no longer be saved up. This is, I feel like, a much bigger change than people are going to give it credit for. Being able to just zoom your way to 75 moats, not invade the enemy team once, like let's say, they have someone go down with like 15 moats to PvE. That's devastating. And now just being able to stack up 3 invades back to back to back is just insanity. You never get a reprieve. You never get a break. And it's just, one death to PvE can seal your fate for the entire game. So now there's fewer invasions and you can't stack them up. Now, I don't think it would ever have been a problem with there only being 2 invasions. Like now they're even more important because you have limited chances to go and invade and actually have an impact on the enemy team. So I don't ever really feel like teams would get to 80 moats without having invaded the enemy team before then. I feel like those situations would be very, very rare, but it doesn't even matter because you can't do it. You can't do it at all. So maybe this would have been a little more important during the past couple of years when we had so many invasions. But I guess better late than never, but I feel like this is going to counter a lot of this. A lot of the limited invasions are going to cause people to just invade no matter what. Invader can no longer see how many moats enemy players are carrying, and player nameplates fade out when you're aiming down sights. Wow, that is pretty significant. That is pretty significant because as the invader, you see someone with 15 moats, you're going to beeline right for them, right? Now there's a little bit of like, who's the important target, right? Obviously, people floating by the bank are still going to be pretty important targets to go kill because they probably have a lot of moats, but they could also be bait, right? They could be like, oh, you don't have any moats. Go to the bank and pretend like you're trying to dunk a whole bunch of moats, and that can save you some time to keep your well-stocked moat players safe from an invader. So this is interesting. nameplates fading out while you're aiming down sights. This can be important. I feel like the average person is probably going to get tunnel vision while they're aiming down sights. They're trying to hit a snipe, they're trying to hit whatever. Or if, they're doing a rocket shot, they're probably going to shoot and then, aim down sights or whatever. But yeah, this is very interesting here. This is very interesting. You can still see players through walls, just not while you're engaging your rocket tracking or using your sniper zoom. Yeah, as examples. We found a bug with how the primeval heal effect was being applied, which, depending on the sequence and timings of kills, would heal the primeval for somewhere in between 5 and 35%. Yeah, this is something that confused the hell out of me. I never knew how much the primeval was ever going to heal for at any given moment. I had no idea what the mechanic was other than somebody died and they heal. But this was incredibly confusing. Now they heal for 27% every single time. Good. This sounds more like it is a bug fix. It literally says we found a bug. So yeah, that's good. That's good. This sounds like a lot, but it's a lot less than the optimal amount prior. We'll be watching, and they can tune that as needed. Yeah. Okay. Very, very interested to see new Gambit. We still got a little bit more, but yeah, Invasion definitely got toned down in strength a pretty good amount. And the entire mode really is getting a whole lot of changes, so that's very good. Sorry, I've been going 30 minutes and I'm like breathe. Don't forget to breathe. Gambit, okay, so rewards. So focusing, we can start doing focusing now. Crowd pleaser, bottom dollar, trinary system, borrowed time, servant leader will now be able to be focused. So now you can get some of these pretty good guns without having to just hopelessly wait and see if you're going to just get it to randomly drop. So that's good. You can focus the Gambit engram into either Gambit armor or Gambit weapons for 10,000 glimmer and 50 legendary shards. Brand new Gambit weapons are drop only for the first season that they're there, and then they become available for focusing. So that's very good. They're going to do more to the Drifter. Bygones, Trust, Bad Omens going to be gone from the vendor. Gambit Memento, that kind of relates to weapon crafting, sort of like an ornament kind of thing, but not exactly an ornament. Old Gambit shaders now have a chance at dropping at the end of a match, so perhaps those shaders from many seasons ago will start dropping. That's pretty cool for people who didn't get them. You can get the Ghost Shell, so yeah, so that's very, very good. Gambit's future, let's see what we got. Daily Gambit bounty objectives are generally fine, but some of the repeatables have onerous completion requirements. So they're just going to retune them. We're going to be, that's that. They're going to be retuning some bounties. In Season 17, more changes, new bounties, bounties specific to Light 3.0. Then we got Gambit Labs, so some change-ups here. Invasion Swap. Variation plays around who gets to benefit from triggered invasions. During the moats phase, instead of opening your own invasion portal at 40 and 80, you instead open your opponent's invasion portal. So if you're way ahead in moats, the enemy team has a chance to come in and try to slow you down before you get too far ahead. I think that's pretty interesting. And Moat Thief, hang on, I'm just reading. Normal moat drain from having 2 blockers is disabled. Instead, every second the invader is invading, 1 moat drains directly from your bank to the invader's bank. So now it's about the hunter becoming the hunted, right? The invader comes in and now they just want to hide, right? They want to stay away from you. They want to play super defensively. So I would say maybe expect some Well of Radiance, some Ward of Dawn action in there, some defensive focused supers and play going in there. So this is pretty interesting as well. I think these will be neat little shakeups to a mode that needs some shakeups. I think that does it for Gambit specifically. We have some additional notes here that I didn't really read, so let's read them together. We're going to continue to deliberately schedule Capture Zone and Freelance weekends with some reputation updates coming for trials. We're moving to a schedule of 7 maps for the season for Season 16. One of those we will get to vote on. Adept reward changes coming in Season 17. We'll learn about those later. Planning the next 4 seasons, a banner year for rituals. We hope season 17 plans will spark joy for everybody. Okay. So very encouraging changes to a mode that basically, in my eyes, had very little going for it. I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh man, I'm totally going to play Gambit now, because I feel like I said that with Trials, and we'll talk about that in my closing thoughts video on season 15. But I'm definitely not going to go in and say like, oh, I'm totally going to play Gambit now. But I'm at least encouraged, and I'm at least going to try out the Gambit changes and see. Because, like, look, I don't like that I don't like Gambit, right? I would like another section of the game to completely reopen itself to me. I want to like it. I want to like things. And, you know, Gambit was probably one of the most wrong I've ever been with regards to how much I think it would have impacted the game, right? Like when Gambit first came out in Forsaken, I was like, dude, this is fantastic. This is amazing. This is so much fun. But I was playing in a very controlled environment with controlled weapons and loadouts. And when it came to the live game, all it takes is 1 or 2 things to be out of balance, and everyone abuses it, and it makes it not fun. So I want it to be fun. Like I don't hate Gambit because I just like hate Gambit and I just am bitter about Gambit. I want to like it. Right? I just don't like playing it right now. So pretty encouraging stuff. Very much looking forward to seeing what's going to be happening there. Final patch note preview. I guess we'll just kind of skim through this real quick. Starting with the Witch Queen. Ritual playlist rewards will be updated to grant ritual-specific gear, weapons, mods, armor. No longer be creating from the general... no longer creating... Sorry, granting rewards from the general world pool. Sorry, I'm a little sniffly. Engram focusing is only currently available. Same 14 Drifter for their specific engrams. Okay. Gambit Crucible Vanguard rituals are getting updated armor sets, which I assume are these. Yeah, not bad. I don't know. I've never really. Maybe it's just like the blue and the orange. I don't know. Maybe this will look better with the different shade. I like the Titan. Hunter's pretty good. Yeah, not bad. Okay. Eternity and Vostok are coming back. Woo! How are people feeling about that? Eternity and Vostok. I don't mind Vostok too much. Eternity is a very interesting map. Like basically one of the only long range maps that we really have. I'll let the PvP people talk about that. Eververse, no changes. Wow, what a surprise. No changes to the Eververse. Here's the next set. Looks pretty nice. Looks pretty good. Love me some glow effects. Sylvanas looking ass hunters. All right. What do we got here? Season pass changes. High stat seasonal armor has been reintroduced. 57 and 87. Okay, I know people were pretty sad about that going away. Looks like it's coming back. Legendary engrams have been replaced with focused umbral engrams, 5 in total, each focused to a different armor piece. All umbrals are tier 2 from the season pass. The season pass emblem has been removed, but we have introduced a sparrow instead. Okay. Scrounger bonuses. Bonuses which increased seasonal weapon / armor drop chances and ritual activities has been completely overhauled. Weapon Scrounger no longer separated by weapon type or ritual activity. They now apply to both Season Pass legendary weapons and all activities at once. Okay, good. Yep, this looks good. 2 weapon Scrounger bonuses instead of 6. The first bonus grants the player a small chance to receive the weapons. The second gives an improved chance. Total drop chance is unchanged from previous seasons, so there's just not as many nodes. Okay, so yeah, that's good. Aside from the emblem, no items have been removed from the season pass, only added. Number of rewards such as Glimmer Legendary Shards have been consolidated to make room for the high stat armor. Small amount of upgrade modules have been added. Cool. The order of some rewards has been retuned. Fine. Shattered Throne Thrallway. Oh boy. Fixed an issue where Shadow Thrall in the Shattered Throne were unintentionally granting investment rewards such as Glimmer, Engrams, and XP. As players begin to craft weapons and level up their season pass, we want to ensure gameplay rewards are earned by playing the game. I mean, I can't say I'm sad about it being fixed. Maybe there are some people who are very sad about this being fixed. I don't know what you really got out of this. But yeah, that's fine with me. That's totally fine with me. Boss stomps. Adjusted the physics knockback for boss stomps. This should result in fewer deaths from being knocked into objects. You guys remember when we were like super mad about I mean, I was never super mad, but the community was like super omega mad about boss stomps. Okay. Doing something about it. Anything else? Steer series, okay. I mean, astro.family/Datto, 5% off. Code Datto at checkout. Twitch subscription bounty. We got a new emblem for gifting 2 subs on Twitch. There's one out right now. You can only get it until the 21st before the servers go down. So it's like you go into a Destiny stream, you gift 2 subs to anybody, and you get an emblem. That's what this is, except this is the new emblem. Looks pretty good. And so the one that's available right now is going to be phased out for this one. This is just a very long way of saying if you're going to gift 2 subs in a Twitch stream, do it in mine, because that would be really neat. All right. I think that's it. I think that is it. We have some launch stuff. Exorcism, I love this. Here's some updates from our investigation surrounding one of these issues with the Exorcism mission, because people kept skipping the cutscene for people so they couldn't see it, and then their Triumph got glitched. Don't skip the final cutscene. Huge suggestion from Bungie. I mean, like, what else can they really do right now, right? The thing's going to go away in, 4 days? So, so I had some people asking me about this. The Wayfinder's Compass inventory, I think the mods weren't rotating quick enough for people to get all of them, so now they're going to reset. They reset yesterday. They're going to reset tomorrow. They're going to reset on the 22nd. Or sorry, on the 20th. So if you're still missing things from the compass, keep checking. Keep checking frequently. Yeah, we just mentioned the gift subs. Okay, yeah, a bunch of stuff's going away. Season 12 through 15. Known issues. Okay, cool. And then we got movie of the week, art of the week. Okay. 5 days. Less than 5 days till Witch Queen. I'm going to have closing thoughts on Season 15 in the next couple of days. I'm also trying to get out a Trouble in Terrorist Town video. Can you believe it? Trouble in Terrorist Town video before the season. And then otherwise, I will be live on Tuesday morning. We'll be going all week. I'm doing the Legend campaign with Leopard and my wife, Danielle. That'll be fun. We're doing that first thing. Twitch.tv/Datto. Come hang out. I'll be live all week, cranking videos all week, trying to grind up for the raid, all that good stuff. Come check it out. I'm going to shut up. Now, please just turn off the video. You always do. You always do this. You just